Part 4, Chapter Birth. We have seen that Andrew Manson has applied all the practical knowledge he had. He tried to save mother, and now his whole attention was towards the child, the stillborn, the dead-born child. And now we'll see what happens. A desperate sense of defeat pressed on him when he saw that after doing that. After plunging the dead child, into the icy and the hot water, he could not find any success. And then a desperate, a hopeless, a helplessness sense, that feeling descended upon him. A raging hopelessness. Now it was hopelessness. He felt the midwife watching him in stark consternation. And then he saw that midwife, that nurse, she was watching him in total consternation, great surprise with what he's doing. While there pressed back against the wall, where she had all the time remained, her hand pressed to her throat, uttering no sound, her eyes burning upon him, was the old woman. And then he saw that the old woman, she was standing there on the wall, uttering no word. Even she was watching what is happening. He remembered her longing for a grandchild, and now Doctor remembered her longing, her desire for the grandchild. As he sat, as great as had been her daughter's longing for this child, and she also had that great desire as Susan Morgan, all dashed away now. And now all that was dashed, all that was failed, futile. It became useless, beyond remedy. Now nothing can be done. The floor was now a draggled mess, and the floor had become a draggled, a wet and dirty mess. Stumbling over a sopping towel, Andrew almost dropped the child. And tripping over a sopping means wet towel, Andrew almost dropped the child. And by mistake, Andrew just tripped on the towel, and he almost dropped the child, which was now wet and slippery in his hands, like a strange white fish. And to him it appeared like a small white fish. For mercy's sake, doctor, whimpered the midwife, it's stillborn. And at once the midwife, she whimpered. She said in a low voice, hey doctor, it is a dead child. Please do not do anything. And he did not heed her. He did not pay any attention towards her. Beaten despairingly, having labored in vain for half an hour, he still persisted in one last effort, rubbing the child with a rough towel, crushing and releasing the little chest with both his hands, trying to get breath into that limp body. And though he was beaten means though he was defeated, despairing, he became helpless, having labored in vain for half an hour, he still persisted, he still continued in one last effort. And now he got another practical idea, that was rubbing the child with a rough towel, crushing and releasing the little chest with both his hands. First of all, he will crush, the child's chest, and then he will release it so that some oxygen can come in, trying to get breath into that limp body. And then, as by a miracle, the pygmy chest, which his hands enclosed, gave a short, convulsive heave. Another and another. Andrew turned giddy. And then, as by a miracle, miracle means wonder, chamatkar, the pygmy chest, very small chest of the child, which his hands had surrounded, gave a short, convulsive heave. And it gave a short, sudden heave, sudden rise, and then another rise, another one. And now Andrew turned very giddy. Giddy means inconstant. वो dizzy सा हो गया एकदम से. The sense of life springing beneath his fingers after all that unavailing striving was so exquisite, it almost made him faint. Now that sense of life, that breath coming in his chest and coming out, uh, uh, springing beneath his fingers, under his fingers, and that unavailing striving, that constant striving on his part, was very, very exquisite, was very, very lovely, was very, very pleasant for him, and it almost made him faint with happiness. He redoubled his efforts feverishly, and then उसने दोबारा से अपने efforts को redouble किया. He started it. The child was gasping now. He was taking breath now, deeper and deeper. A bubble of mucus came from one tiny nostril, and then a bubble of mucus came from one of the nostril, a joyful, iridescent bubble. And it was iridescent bubble, shiny, bright, changing colors bubble. The limbs were no longer boneless, and now he could feel the life in his limbs. They were no longer boneless. The head no longer lay back spinelessly, and he saw that head was no, it was not spineless now. Some strength has come in that. The blanched, pale skin was slowly turning pink because of oxygen. Then, exquisitely, came the child's cry. And then, exquisitely, and the last of all, beautifully, the child started crying. Dear Father in heaven, the nurse sobbed hysterically. And seeing to this, the nurse started crying. And she thanked God, dear Father in heaven. She was hysterical. She was in uncontrolled way. She cried, it's come alive." Andrew handed over her the child. He felt weak and dazed, and he handed her the child, and he felt very weak, very dazed, very tired. About him, the room lay in a shuddering litter, and the room was in total litter. Litter means everything was, all the dirt was lying there. Everywhere the dirt was there in the room: blankets, towels, basins, soiled instruments, dirty instruments, hypodermic syringe impaled by its point in the linoleum, and it was still fixed. That syringe was still fixed in that bottle. Eva knocked over, kettle on its side in a puddle of water. Upon the huddled bed, the mother still dreamed her way quietly through the anesthetic, and upon the huddled bed, upon the nearby bed, in a haphazard way. Huddled bed means the haphazard bed. A mother was still coming out from that anesthetic. The old woman still stood against the wall, but her hands were together. Her lips moved without sound. She was praying, and the old mother, she was praying, old woman, and she was thanking God. Mechanically, Andrew wrung out his sleeve, pulled on his jacket. I'll fetch my bag later, nurse. He went downstairs. He went downstairs through the kitchen into the scullery. And scullery is a room for washing the dishes. His lips were dry. At the scullery, he took a long drink of water. He reached for his coat and hat. Outside, he found Joe standing on the pavement with a tense, expectant face. All right, Joe, he said thickly. Both all right. It was quite light, nearly 5 o'clock. A few miners were already in the street. Now the other miners, they were already street going for their work. The first of the night shift moving out, and the night the miners, those who were on the night duty, they were going back to their houses. As Andrew walked with them, uh, spent and slow, very tired and very slow, his footfalls echoing with the others under the morning sky, and he found that his footsteps were resounding. Echoing means they were resounding with others. He kept thinking blindly, oblivious to all other work he had done in Blenheim. And he kept thinking blindly, oblivious to all. He was forgetful. Oblivious means he was forgetful and mindful for all of the work he had done. I have done something. And he said to himself that he had done something. Oh God, I have done something real at last. So we see this lesson, how beautiful this lesson is. This highlights the importance of practical experience in the field of medicine, and this light, this great this night had become an important night in the life of Andrew Manson. He it whole future had changed. Whole life, whole future of his had changed because of this one night. How he, with his practical knowledge, he saved the life of a dead child and also a mother. So this importance, this gives us the great lesson that we should have practical knowledge. Bookish knowledge is not all about. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Thank you.